Why Do We Need an Awakening from Below is the name of the article. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Feel free to go through the 3 semesters of Kabbalah here. They're a good foundation to anyone who's interested in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And if you'd like to carry on with studying Awakening from Above and Why Do We Need an Awakening from Below? In order to attain Lishma for her sake, it is not within one's hand to understand, as it is not for the human mind to grasp how such a thing can be. It is only permitted to grasp that if he engages in Torah and mitzvot, the commandment, he will attain self-benefit. Therefore, otherwise, one is unable to do anything. Rather, it is an illumination that comes from above, and only one who tastes it can know and understand. It's written about it, taste and see that the Lord is good. Thus, we must understand why one should seek advice and counsels regarding how to achieve Lishma. After all, the counsels will help, and if the Creator does not give him the second nature called the desire to bestow, no labor will help him to attain the matter of Lishma. The answer is, as our sages said in Avot, it's not for you to complete the work, and you're not free to idle away from it. This means that one must give the awakening from below, since this is regarded as a prayer. A prayer is considered a deficiency, and without a deficiency there is no feeling. Hence, when one has a need for Lishma, the feeling comes from above, and the answer to the prayer comes from above, meaning he receives fulfillment for his lack. It follows that the need for man's work in order to receive the love from the Creator is only in the form of a lack and a kli. Yet, one can do it by himself. It's rather a gift from the Creator. However, the prayer must be a complete prayer from the bottom of the heart. This means that one knows 100% that there is no one in the world who can help him but the Creator himself. Yet how does one know this, that no one will help him but the Creator himself? One can acquire that awareness precisely if he has exerted all the powers at his disposal and it did not help him. One must do every possible in the world to attain for the sake of the Creator. Then one can pray from the bottom of the heart, and then the Creator hears his prayer. However, one must know, when exerting to attain Lishma, to take upon himself to want to work entirely to bestow. Completely, meaning only to bestow, and not to receive anything. Only then does one begin to see that the organs do not agree to this view. From this one can come to clear awareness that he has no other choice but to pour out his heart to the Creator to help him, so the body will agree to enslave itself to the Creator unconditionally, as he sees that he cannot persuade his body to annul itself completely. It turns out that precisely when one sees that there is no hope that his body will agree to work for the Creator by itself, one's prayer can be from the bottom of the heart, and then his prayer is accepted. We must know that by attaining Lishma, one puts the evil inclination to death. The evil inclination is the will to receive, and acquiring the desire to bestow cancels the will to receive from being able to do anything. This is considered putting it to death, since it has been removed from its office. And it has nothing more to do, since it is no use. When it is revoked from its function, this is considered putting it to death. When one contemplates that he has in his work which he works, let's read that again. When one contemplates what he has in his work, which he works under the sun, one sees that it is not so to give oneself to his name for two reasons. One, anyhow, meaning whether willingly or unwillingly, one must exert in this world, and what has one left from all the efforts he has made. Two, however, if a person works Lishma, he receives pleasure during the work too. According to the proverb of the Seir of Dubna, who spoke about the verse, "You did not call me Jacob, for you labored about me, Israel." He said that it is like a rich man who departed the train and had a small bag. He placed it where all the merchants place their baggage, and the porters take the baggage and bring them to the hotel where the merchants stay. The porter thought that clearly the merchant would take a small bag by himself, and there's no need for a porter for this. So he took a big package. The merchant wanted to pay him a small fee, as he usually pays, but the porter did not want to take it. He said, "I put a big bag into the hotel depository, which exhausted me, and I barely carried your bag, and you want to pay me so little for it." The lesson is that when one comes and says that he exerted extensively in observing Torah and mitzvot, the Creator tells him, "You did not call me Jacob." In other words, it's not my baggage that you took. Rather, this baggage belongs to someone else. Since you say that you had much effort in Torah and mitzvot, you must have had a different landlord from whom you work, so go to him to pay you. This is the meaning of, "For you labored about me, Israel." This means that he who works for the Creator has no labor, but on the contrary, pleasure, elation. But one who works for other goals cannot come to the Creator with complaints that the Creator does not give him vitality in the work, since he did not work for the Creator. For the Creator to pay for his work. Instead, one can complain to those people for whom he worked to give him pleasure and vitality. And since there are many purposes in Lo Lishma, one should demand of the goal for which he worked to give him the reward, namely pleasure and vitality. It is said about them, "They who make them shall be like them, everyone who trusts them." However, according to this, it is perplexing. After all, we see that even when one takes upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven without any other intention, he still does not feel any vitality. Say that his vitality compels him to take upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven. The reason he takes upon himself the burden is only because of faith above reason. In other words, he dies of coercive overcoming, unwillingly. Thus we might ask, why does one feel exertion in this work, with the body constantly seeking a time when it can be rid of this work, as one does not feel any vitality in the work? According to the above, when one works in humbleness, when his only goal is to work in order to bestow, why does the Creator not impart him taste and vitality in the work? The answer is that we must know that this matter is a great correction. Were it not for this, meaning if light and vitality had illuminated immediately when one began to take upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven, he would have vitality in the work. In other words, the will to receive too would have consented to this work. In that state, we would certainly agree, because he wants to satisfy his desire, meaning he would work for his own benefit. Had that been the case, it would never have been possible to achieve Lishma, since he would be compelled to work for his own benefit. as he would feel greater pleasure in the work for the Creator than in corporeal desires. Thus he would have to remain in Lolishma, since he would have had satisfaction in the work, and where there is satisfaction, one cannot do anything, as without profit one cannot work. It follows that if one received satisfaction in this work of Lolishma, he would have to remain in that state. This would be similar to what people say, that when there are people chasing a thief to catch him, the thief too runs and yells, "Catch the thief." Then it is impossible to recognize who is the real thief, so as to catch him and take the theft out of his hand. However, when the thief, meaning the will to receive, does not feel any flavor or vitality in the work of accepting the burden of the kingdom of heaven, in that state, if one works with faith above reason, coercively, and the body becomes accustomed to this work against the desire of his will to receive, then he has the means by which to come to work that will be with the purpose of bringing contentment to his Maker. Since the primary requirement from a person is to come to adhesion with the Creator through his work, which is discerned as equivalence of form, where all his actions are in order to bestow. This is as it is written, "Then shall you delight in the Lord." The meaning of then is that first in the beginning of his work he did not have pleasure. Instead, his work was coerced. Afterwards, when he has already accustomed himself to work in order to bestow and not examine himself, if he is feeling a good taste in the work, but believes that he is working to bring contentment to his Maker through his work, he should believe that the Creator accepts the work of the lower ones, regardless of how and how much is the form of their work. In everything, the Creator examines the intention, and this brings contentment to the Creator. Then one is rewarded with delight in the Lord. Even during the work of the Creator, he will feel delight and pleasure, since now he really does work for the Creator, because the effort he made during the coercive work qualifies him to be able to truly work for the Creator. You find that then, too, the pleasure he receives relates to the Creator, meaning specifically for the Creator. Radio? Any dramas? No? Everybody's good? All right, so you got no questions. Ingrid's asking, hello, how can one who is an atheist believe in upper providence if the Creator is concealed in the work? Well, you can't believe. People, when people say they believe in God, or I don't know, whatever, God, Allah, Elohim, you name it, right? In religions, it's not that they believe in anything. They believe in what they've been told. Okay? So that's not believing in God. This is why in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we can't believe that there is something until we connect with that something. Okay, otherwise, your belief cannot be a belief. It can be an assumption, but it won't be a belief. Okay, and at the end of the day, we have to clarify what is belief. When I say I believe there is, I don't know, a God, how do I believe that? I mean, what is God, first of all, right? So we have to think about it. What is his desire? Why did he create us? If I just say I believe, that's not belief. That's just, well, I don't want to say stupidity, but it's close to it. Okay. Because what are we really believing in? Okay, so belief has to be a connection where you understand, feel, and have you have a feeling and a comprehension of reality and what's behind reality and the cause of consequence and the cause and consequence of things. And this is the important thing. This is why people believe in all kinds of things in life. But, if you don't see the truth, well, what good is blindly saying I believe in anything? So, coming back to your question, how can one who is an atheist believe in upper providence if the Creator is concealed in the work? Well, first of all, we start to study. And the Kabbalists do not tell us to believe in anything, right? They tell us to attain. So until I attain, I can't believe. But as I learn and as I apply what I've learned, then I should be going through the feelings that they're talking about in the articles and the books. Then I start to develop faith, not in the Creator, but in the sages, because they teach me things. And as I study and learn and live, I begin to go through what they're talking about. So from not having faith in the sages, by studying and listening and taking their recommendations, I begin to develop faith in the sages. As I develop faith and I study more, I begin to see what my nature is. Okay? There's no creator, there's nothing. All right? It's just me and the friends and the guide. That's all. And from within that, I begin to see through the work among us how much of an egoist I am. So as we're studying the article, anyone who has a dot in the heart and has a desire to reach the meaning of life, on the one hand, within, we resonate with the material, we connect with it somehow, okay? And on the other hand, our nature is against the material, right? So on the other hand, we're thinking, well, I don't want to bestow. I mean, okay, it sounds good, everything's honky-dory, but when it comes to Action Jackson mode, not there. And I don't want to be really there, okay? Because we begin to see that this whole thing is really against our nature. Now, as we study and study, we begin to live the articles. And then we begin to build that faith in the sages. Then we begin to build a desire to want to get out of our egoism. And a desire to want to get out of our egoism is actually the same thing, we could say, to building the stove, right? If you think about it. Okay, remember, reality is always from two opposites, right? So if I hate something, I've got to love the other one, all right? So if you think about it, the study slowly, slowly is bringing us to want to bestow and not to be egoists. Why is that important? Well, because in reality, we've learned before with you guys in the first semester and in the 4 phases of direct light that the Creator already created the reality in the beginning. And there's nothing for Him to add or to subtract. So if we have the correct desire, the correct vessel, then that vessel should get some light, shouldn't it? According to the laws of nature. So then I can have faith if I have a vessel that can receive the light. How can I receive light? I need a vessel to put it into. So I need a correct vessel, a correct desire. I cannot put wine inside a sack, nor can I put flour inside a barrel. So in order to carry or attain what I want to attain, I need to develop a vessel. Right? If I want to be a scientist, I can't go to the gym and develop my muscles and expect to be a scientist, can I? I need to develop the right vessels. So same here. Without having any feeling or sensation of the Creator, I can discover how bad my nature is, and wanting to be freed from my nature would constitute to the same thing as wanting to bestow. Does that make sense? This is why the concept of praying to the Creator is not so that I want something from Him. Obviously, we want something, but not with words. We have to build a vessel for the Kli. So this whole process of wanting, praying, demanding is for us to build the correct vessel to receive the light in it. If I receive the light in the correct vessel, then I can have faith. Why? Because I can believe what I see. Well, I hope that makes sense. Okay, the Creator is concealed, but I'm not. Neither are the friends. You can see us, you can feel us, you can be with us. And through us, you can learn your nature. Okay? Hussein's asking, how can we increase our desire to work for only the Creator and not for ourselves? Well, you have to bestow to the friends, don't you? If you don't do the action, you can't have a desire to bestow. The problem is the more you do, the less you'll want to bestow. Because we're a desire to receive pleasure. Why do I want to now bestow? Why do you want to bestow? We don't want to bestow, we want to receive. Okay? So how can you? You can if you build love of friends in the group. Because if you have love of friends, you'll want to bestow to them if you love them, right? The second thing is, if I hate my egos. So if I increase the love of friends and I increase the hate for my selfish egoism from both sides, I can build a desire and the vessel to bestow. This is why we need an environment. And if we don't have an environment, we won't get anywhere. Ingrid's asking again, she's saying, can one study in Kabbalah from authentic sources one randomly finds on the site, or only go with the main group's materials in Israel? How to study correctly? The best way to study correctly is to evaluate how we study to get to the goal. Right? If I study on my own, my study will be flawed because I cannot get feedback on how my nature works. If I don't have any feedback on how my nature works through the work in the group, with the group, in the flow of the group, then I'm just becoming a philosopher. It's not what we want to do. So the more I stick with the group, the more I'm in tune with their frequency. The more I'm inclined to be in the frequency, then I can trot along with the group. Now, I can advance much faster with the group rather than on my own. because the group is where I get all the impressions, all the discernments about myself, all the discernments about the ego, all the discernments about what it would be like if I wasn't an egoist. But if I'm on my own, I've got nobody to bestow to. If I've got love and I've never loved anyone, how can I even think about loving? How can I even think about bestowing? How can I even depict to myself what that can be? You see what I mean? So when you're on your own, it's a different ball game, and it's a flawed game, and it won't get us anywhere. But if I go with the group, I'm in the same frequency, I'm in the same state of mind, we're studying the same stuff, we're thinking about the same stuff, we're evaluating us each their own inner work according to what we've learned together, the same thing. So that has a lot of power in it, because the whole group now puts power into the same place. So that's quite good. It's a good way to advance. It is asking, one side, the part of this article is so clear that I should not ask or wait for my payment in this spiritual work. I just want to bestow like him and do this through my friends and give him contentment. To my family, but seeing that I'm looking for a payment such, and all of a sudden see that my intention still is not good. Well, that's the whole idea. If you were not doing good things to other people, you wouldn't see your egoistic intention. Why do you think we all want to love each other? We want to love each other. We're doing things to love each other, right? And then what are we discovering? Okay, we're thinking, oh, well, I don't want to love Aslu. Why do I want to love Aslu? What about Yit? I don't want to like Yit. Who's Yit anyway? He's just another dodgy guy. I might get food poisoning if I go to his restaurant. Huh? We don't want it, okay? But we only don't want if we try to do it, okay? And as I try to do it, I see I can't do it. It's just not in me, okay? And this has to be clear for a person, that this thing called bestowal, love of others, I don't have this thing. I just don't have it, okay? If I don't have it, and if I understand I cannot have it in me, it just doesn't exist in me, and there is no way I can put a new software into me, then we've got something to talk about now. You see what I mean? So this is the same thing in our life. Okay, if I want to be successful in anything, I'm going to get a lot of obstacles that is preventing my success. Okay, but if I overcome those obstacles, I'm going to be successful. Do you see what I mean? So the obstacle is the thing that is helping you to be successful if you overcome it. You understand what I mean? So it's not an obstacle, but people out there look at it like an obstacle, right? So it's the wrong perspective, right? You don't want to look at it that way, okay? Because in order to be something, you understand that you've got to do something. And when you got to do something, things pop up that you have to solve to do stuff. This gives you wisdom. It gives you the strength, the understanding, the further desire to move forward. You understand what I mean? This is why obstacles, great opportunity if a person uses them right, even in corporeality. Even in corporeality, I had a bunch of obstacles. I still do. But I see the progress. You see what I mean? I see the progress, and I see that why if I didn't have these obstacles, I'd never discover the things, even in my corporeal work, that I discovered. I wouldn't even ask the question. Okay, so these are all necessary. And this is the only way to see your egoism. And sometimes I pour out from the heart that I cannot be like him. Should I think that they have their egoistic nature, that I just do things and move forward and expect the return is okay? Or should I still, as you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, try to build the faith in the situation? Towards your family, you have to do whatever you need to do to make sure you bestow to them. I have to do the same. And towards the group, you have to do whatever you can to bestow to them. You have to bestow in any case to the family and to the group. You understand? That's the only way. And then I can have inner complaints. And my inner complaints will then turn into inner work. Then I'll check myself. Am I doing this for a reward? Why don't they thank me? I do all these things for them and nobody gives me a pat in the back. Nobody gives me a hug or a kissy kissy. What kind of a relationship is this anyway? Right? So I start to complain, right? And then that's the whole idea. And then you begin to see, wow, even to the closest people around me, everything I'm doing is just, self-gratification. Obviously, you don't tell this to them, okay? This is your inner work, okay? For them, when they look at you, they always want to see you bestowing and loving them. And for you, it doesn't matter what you get in return. Do you understand? Same with the group. Afterwards, you'll get used to working without caring about how you feel about the work. That's already good. That's already good. Because then you begin to understand that this is how it needs to be. And what I feel doesn't matter. That's a good state we should be aiming for. Obviously, every time we can't manage, screaming to the Creator is a good idea. Radio, Matt's asking, some people are naturally altruistic and dedicated to humanity. We have seen such people throughout history. How were they created with such a nature? Because if we don't have a little bit of humanity in humanity, we're going to be completely complete disaster zone. Okay. In life, 10% of humanity is altruistic. 10% of humanity wants to do good. The rest, 90%, they're all corrupt. Okay. Why is that number important? Because 10%, despite the fact that they feel good about themselves corporeally when they do good, right? They're still egoists. They're not bestowing, they're egoistically good. They feel good when they do good things. When they save the whales, they feel like they've accomplished something good. Okay, when they save the rainforest, they feel good. So this is all egoism. But in society, there is such a group, and that's a sign for us that for society to change, we just need 10% of society's opinion to change. All right, but the rest of the 90%, we're all egoists. 100% everybody's egoist. Okay? So the 10% that feel like they're bestowing, they're doing it because they feel good. And not that they particularly like us, but they just feel good about it. All right? And that's how it is. In our egoistic nature, there are all kinds of people, right? There are doctors who save lives. There are criminals that kill people. Okay? There's the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. It's all mixed, but everybody is egoistic. Okay? Right. Is that it? I think that's all the questions. So let's conclude. All right. So the Creator wants us to come to bestowal. We want to come to bestowal, but we don't want to come to bestowal as an egoist. Right? So we want to bestow, but we see that it's against our nature. So as we are advancing more and more, we'll begin to go above our nature, where we'll begin to feel like, bestowal is the right thing to do, and I don't have to feel pleasure about it. It's just the way to go. Okay? It's the way to go, and I don't really have to care about me feeling good. I have to care about other people feeling good and other people getting to the purpose of their life. Right? That's the important thing. And that's all. Now, initially, because we're all egoists, this is why he says in the article, you have to go against your nature. How? Coercively. Just like you go to your job. You go to work because you push yourself to go to work. Who likes to go to work? I don't. Right? But I get up and I go to work. Okay? So why? Because I understand that I've got to take care of the family. I've got to take care of the worldly stuff. Okay? And that's how it is. Now, because in this world we have such an example, this is the same thing. I can want to bestow, I can get up and do the work every day against my desire if I see that this is the right thing to do, because, I've got to get to the purpose of life. I don't want to be an animal. Do you see the correlation here? It's the same mentality. There's nothing different. This is why the Creator hasn't done something extraordinarily difficult. He's saying, listen, you're not doing anything extra. You're doing the same thing you do in life anyway. Okay, it's the same stuff. You go to work, you work for the money, you take care of the family, and you're trying to get things done to survive, right? So you're doing the same thing to get spiritual. You're doing things to survive in spirituality, which is the love of others. One of them you're doing for the love of yourself. The other one, you're going to do it for the love of others, but you're doing the same thing. All right, so just understand that the laws of nature are not changing here. We, by our approach, are changing. Okay? It's the same reality. Understand? This is important to understand, otherwise, you'll find it very difficult to keep convincing yourself to do the work. And then afterwards, you can say, well, I'm doing everything I can. And you can add on and you can play around with your work, and that'll give you more discernments as you go along. And that's it. And then at the end of the day, when we do come to the attribute of bestowal, when we do receive that vessel of bestowal, the power to bestow, then you can have pleasure in it, because it's not going to be egoistic then. You're going to have the power to bestow because you're going to be clothed with this new attribute called love. And then you can have pleasure in bestowing, just like people egoistically take pleasure in bestowing. Right? They feed cats on the street, they're bestowing seemingly to the cats, and they're loving it. And they feel good. Right? Same thing. All right. So you guys have a good evening. or day, depending where you are. Now, we've got Congress coming up on Thursday. So let's get ready internally, externally, and let's all meet up at the Congress, make it a good one, and add some extra strength. And hopefully our unity will reveal some spiritual notions to us. We can move forward, all of us together as one world Kli. All right, have a good one. All the best. See you later.